Hallo und herzlich willkommen hier beim Podcast Das Geheimnis des Tees. Mein Name ist Ming und ich bin Teemeisterin. Ich habe heute, wie ihr seht, wieder einen wundervollen Gast für euch. Und zwar schalten wir heute mal wieder in die USA. Und ich werde gleich mit der Sprache ein bisschen switchen, damit er mitsprechen kann und ich mich nicht alleine unterhalten muss. Hello, welcome to my tea house, to the podcast, The Secret of Tea. And nice to meet you. We had the first meeting just a little time before and talk about tea, and it could continue next hours, right?
We could talk for a long time. I'm sure.
Yeah. So why I wanted you in the podcast? So many of some people say I'm a tea filter.
Okay.
Because nice. I'm trying the teas from everywhere and from nearly every person, and so I'm also asked my audience who should be next in the interview, and they said you, because awesome. They want to know who's the guy behind the good teas.
That's awesome. Yeah. No, I'm very grateful for that. Yeah, thank you.
So please introduce yourself. Who are you? How long are you into tea? And what are you specialized in?
Great. So my name is Glenn, and I'm with Crimson Lotus Tea. And Crimson Lotus Tea is myself and my wife, Lamu. And Lamu is a native of Yunnan, China, which is where Pu Erh Tea comes from. Pu Erh Tea is the primary focus of our company. Pu Erh Tea, or teas from the Yunnan area. So we actually do sell some black tea, some Dian Hong now, but primarily Sheng and Shou Pu Erh is the focus of our business, and it has been for just about 9 years now.
Wow. What brings you into tea? You said your wife is from China. Okay, yeah. But that is not a guarantee that you dive into tea.
No, you're absolutely right. So my original passion is was coffee. I worked in the tech industry in Seattle for almost 20 years, and Seattle and like the espresso and the coffee culture, especially with technology, it goes hand in hand. So I became more and more passionate about really high-end coffee. I was buying green beans from farmers. I was roasting at home, and I was just like, well, you know what? I like the technology stuff, but I kind of wanted something more. I was getting really disillusioned with working for high-tech companies, and so I was really thinking about starting my own business. It was going to be like a direct sourced coffee roasting company. I would be able to kind of do adventure travel through Central America, find interesting farmers, like buy the beans direct from them. And that was definitely something that I was thinking about doing. And then I was at a tea shop in California, Santa Cruz, Hidden Peak Tea Shop or Hidden Peak Tea House. And I immediately fell in love with this tea, and I was asking a lot of questions about it because it resonated with me very deeply in a way that tea never had before. And they're like, yeah, this tea comes from a place in China called Yunnan. I'm like, Yunnan? I'm like, that's where my fiance's from. And she's like, and the person was talking to me, and they're like, wow, you're so lucky. And I'm like, I was like, I am? Like, I didn't really understand it. And so I called Lamu that night because she was living in New York at the time. And she's like, yeah, Pu Erh Tea, whatever. Everybody knows about that. I'm like, I didn't know about that. I'm like, this tea's amazing. And she just was like, okay. But she didn't really think anything of it. If you've grown up your entire life with, a product that's made in your area, you're like, yeah. It's like, okay. So as the summer progressed, and we ended up getting married that summer, as the summer progressed, like I found myself really drinking a lot more tea than I was coffee. And like, I had some really amazing coffees that I needed to like drink that summer. I had spent a lot of money on some really unique, single farm varietals. And I remember drinking a cup of it, and it just like the excitement was gone. Like, and all I could think about was Pu Erh Tea and learning more about Pu Erh Tea. And I was between jobs at the moment, and she and I were just starting our life together. And I knew we were going back to China the next year because we had to get married in China with her family. And I just kind of proposed the idea. I was like, well, you know what if we just started our own business, and we can focus exclusively on Pu Erh Cake. You know, it comes from your area. We'll get the chance to, you know, like live and work with your family over there.
Sorry.
I can do oh no, it's fine. I've got kids too. I can do I can do all the computer side of things, the website and the social media. And, you know, she's got a background in, you know, like finance and business and accounting. I mean, you can do all of that side of things. And she's like, okay, let's do it. And like, without any more thought to it than that, that was it. And so we didn't know anything about the tea industry. We didn't know anything about the Pu Erh industry in China. And we literally just jumped right off the cliff, dove in head first, and just went to China. I got my Chinese driver's license, and we just got in the car and just drove from mountain to mountain to mountain, just, you know, trying to make good contacts, seeing how the tea was made, and just building the experience that way. Because the direct purchasing of tea was something that was really passionate for me, in the same way that I wanted to build the coffee business. Because I really wanted to. I wanted to be able to. It makes it much easier to sell something if I fully believe in it, and like if I was there when the teas were grown and picked and processed, like then I can sell that without any guilt on my conscience, because I know everything about that tea, and it's a quality experience. And so, and here we go, 9 years later. This is where we're at.
So that's quite interesting, because you said you're going directly to the country, you're drinking a lot of stuff, you experience a lot of tea. So my question is, that makes sense to experience the tea. Yeah. So reading a book about a tea, then you have all this information, but for tea, you have to drink it. You have to experience it. You have to find out the difference. What is the difference doing to your body? And would you start the same again when you know?
Well, that's a tough one. I mean, it was so difficult our first couple of years doing the business. It's actually much easier now to go over there and start a business. But a lot of the farmers that we went to, they didn't even have roads. I mean, it was just like muddy tracks. I mean, it was very, very, very difficult. But you know, what you mentioned, the experience thing, and I think we had chatted about this before we started recording. I did not get Sheng Pu Erh. I did not understand it. Shou Pu Erh, like, totally got it, totally made sense. But it wasn't until like I had the experience of having Sheng Pu Erh tea brewed for me in Yunnan, like with, you know, tea masters in their stores, that like I understood it. Like I finally understood it. It made sense. I had read everything that you could read about Sheng Pu Erh. Like I would read people's tasting notes, I would read experiences, I would read like how it was picked, how it was processed. I would read all of the information about, well, this one from this mountain is supposed to taste like this, and this one from that mountain is supposed to do this, and the tea energy is supposed to be this and supposed to do all that. I didn't get any of that. Like none of it made any sense to me until like I had it brewed for me in a way that showed me how to see those things. And it was like I was blind. And like that first experience, like I remember it to this day. It was literally eye-opening, and it made sense. Now I knew everything I had read, but if I had just read it without experiencing it, it wouldn't have made any sense.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. You can read, but it makes no sense, definitely, because you have to experience. And also see, so I was talking to Don from Mayleaf, and we had a very nice chat, and I asked him, how did he get all those things out of his tea? How can you taste so many different things? And for me, it's really hard to find, okay, I can find the fruity notes, I can find the flowery notes, but for me, when I had to describe a tea, I would describe it with colors maybe, or with feelings.
Okay, sure.
So that's why, if maybe you reading my tea notes, you will not get the tea. Definitely not.
The notes that we put together are a combination of my wife and I's experiences with the teas. So she often tastes things that I don't taste. She experiences things that I don't experience. And so when we put together our tasting notes, it's a combination of
Leute,
our,
es reicht. Es geht jetzt ins Bett. Alle beide. Sorry.
No, it's not a problem. Is it officially bedtime for the kids?
Because they run, yeah, they're running here.
Yeah.
Up and down and up and down, and they know that I cannot say something.
Yeah. No, my kids are exactly the same way. But thankfully with the time shift, at least thankfully for me, my kids are in school, so I'm good. But no, it's an interesting thing, and every single tasting notes is something that or at least describing tasting notes is something that can come with practice. But I mean, you mentioned experience. You have to have experience. Like you can't say that this tastes like apricots unless you have experience with apricots. In the larger your experience in the world, the more vocabulary you have for being able to explain teas. And so this is something we try to work with our kids. We'll go to the grocery store. I want them to touch the fruit. I want them to smell the fruit. I want them to have that experience. And then it's all about just having a notebook with your teas, like sitting down, like writing rudimentary, like how does it make you feel? What do you think the aromas taste like? And if you have an interesting aroma, it's just like, oh, well, this smells like flowers. Challenge yourself to describe it more. Like, okay, it smells like flowers, but what flowers does it smell like? Is it a flower that's like freshly picked? It's a flower that's been sitting out for a long time, and you can kind of train your mind to see more. And I mean, you can get like the tea tasting wheel to kind of help to kind of give you an idea of where things go. But one of the common Shengpuer that's kind of like medium age, like 5 to 10 years, gets this interesting barnyard aroma. But if you've never been to a farm, and if you've never been around a barnyard with like horses and cows and know what that smells like, you won't even know what barnyard means. So yeah, experience is a huge part of it.
I always say, I explain it to my clients like that. So we have a taste memory. So as more as we explore, as more taste we experience. So if I never taste rice, why I should ask for rice? How should I feel the rice into the tea? It's not possible. But when I give my taste memory a big library, taste everything, that's also what Don said. Don said he can get all those because he's eating nearly everything they put in front of him. And intuition.
Yeah. It's, we do a lot of tea tastings in the Seattle area, or I guess we haven't in the last couple of years because of all the COVID stuff. But the first 5 years of our business, we were organizing tea tasting events, and we would go and we would try to we would meet up with people that were doing like board game nights, and I'm like, hey, tell you what, you guys do your board game night, like I'll brew tea for you guys, and just kind of in a lot of ways just kind of trying to figure out like what Western customers were looking for in teas and stuff like that. And so your brain has a really amazing connection specifically between like aromas and memories. And every person that we would make these teas for would have a different memory connection to the teas based on their own personal experiences. And mine was in Shengpuer, there's a minerality to it that is really similar to the mountains in the northern part of the state of Georgia, where I would go to summer camp as a kid. There's something about like the way like the pine trees and like the dryness of like the shale. When we would go hiking there, like that's exactly what it would smell and taste like. And so now every time I drink these teas, it brings me back to summer camp as a kid, and it's amazing that can happen. So
I had a tea, 40 years old oolong.
Wow. Okay.
And I got this tea, and it puts me I put my nose inside, and it really kicks me away 20 years back as I started my tea sessions with my tea master. That was it smells like the training area. So like Kung Fu medicine, like sweat, it smells like that, sweat and a little bit of these entrance sticks.
Sure.
Yeah, and all this together, that really kicks me away and brings me back in the memory. And I just drink it, and then I can sit for hours with myself.
We encourage our customers not to. We honestly don't really take ourselves too seriously in the world of tasting notes, because a lot of it actually adds a lot of stress to some of our customers when they're like, like I read your tasting notes, I tasted the tea, like that's not the experience that I had. And it can be they think that they've done something wrong, that they're brewing the tea wrong because they don't have the same experience that I had. And so we just really try to encourage them to have the experience that the tea is giving to them. I mean, we say live in the moment. It kind of becomes a just kind of like a simple catchphrase, but it's important to do that. Don't get stressed out about like the specific details. Just like have the experience that the tea is giving to you. And if it's not the same experience that it is for me, that's okay. And I sometimes when I have it's actually really educational for me to have other people brew my teas for me, because it tastes entirely different, even if it's the exact same teaware, the exact same water. And it's funny because sometimes I don't like it, and like I immediately want to go start making it for myself. I'm like, but I just wait, and I let them brew it for me, and it's strange. It's very strange to have that experience.
But that's true. We made an experiment once. We had a small circle of 3, and we did exact the same tea. And then we had 3 cups. One goes to the one side and to the other side. And that was amazing. So at the end, we had 3 cups. The middle was my one, I brewed. And then I could make the experience with the people around. And that is amazing. So it's not, sometimes you feel it's not the same tea. The same amount, the same water. Maybe the kettle was a little bit different, so the teapot was a little bit different. Okay, that makes sense that the tea comes out different, but that is different.
Isn't that fascinating? Yeah,
that is fascinating. Of course.
Yeah, it is. It is fascinating.
By the way, what are you brewing?
So you said you were drinking some Pu Erh this morning, so I wanted to drink some Pu Erh as well. This is one of our new pressings. We just put it onto the site last week. See if I can show off get the art to show up there. So
yes, I love your designs.
This is a tea called Night Shift. It's a Pu Erh, and this design it's a new. I studied fine art in college. I love art. I love like paintings and drawings, and the Seattle area has such a rich community of artists. I'm always trying to find new artists so that I can showcase their art on my wrappers. And I think that's something really special about Pu Erh Tea is just the fact that you have this gorgeous canvas of paper that each product is wrapped in, and
it is a piece of art. And the thing is, when it's done, then it's done. When it's gone, it's gone. When it's drunk, it's drunk. So it's away. It's not coming back anymore. And you cannot have 10. Okay, you can buy 10 or 60 cakes, but when they are empty, then they're empty. It's empty.
And I really feel that. I mean, this is something that we were chatting about earlier. These teas are so complex, and the experiences are so rich. I really feel that these teas are telling us stories. And what I want to do so this is a blend. It's not a single origin, single mountain, single garden Pu Erh. We do sell ones like that. So this is a blend that I specifically put together. It has a couple different areas. It has a couple different years. Like I tasted these different Pu Erhs, and I tried to come to an understanding of what they were, and then I wanted to put them together in a way that that told a story. And what we do is I'll have a rough idea in my head. I've had the phrase like night shift for a while, and I wanted to construct a tea that matched what the story of night shift is in my head, and then find art that actually added to that layer. And so those three things put together, the name, the design of the art, and the tea, just it's a story, and it tells a whole story. And finding the right artist that really understands that has actually been difficult for us. A lot of times artists, they're just they just don't get it. But Jose Rodriguez, I messaged him. I kind of gave him my elevator pitch, and he's like, dude, let's meet and talk about it. And so we actually met at a coffee shop, and I made him tea in the coffee shop. And I just kind of gave him my brain dump. I loved his art and the way it's right into that. And then he's like, well, we need to put Tezcatlipoca on there. And Tezcatlipoca is the Aztec deity that's on there. And he's like the deity of night and smoke and mirrors, and it's just like totally worked.
So this is quite interesting that you said it. I never thought about it, but tea is a story, definitely. Even when I'm more into oolong teas, so I'm specialized in oolong teas. But when it comes to oolong teas, it's completely the same. So but I would agree that Pu Erh teas have a longer story. So oolong teas, it's a journey in one tea session. Yeah. And it's also a story in one tea session. So it comes as maybe it's a beautiful girl. It starts with a very light brew, and the beautiful girl, but not much experience. Then the second, it grows and becomes old, rich, and much layers inside, and then slowly goes down again. But a Pu Erh Cake, and it's interesting, I never thought about it. You have this experience in one tea session, but you start with older, so it's already more experienced, the tea.
Yeah. And
the whole cake is also a story.
Yeah. And so it's even more than that, because like you can't drink this cake in one session. And so most people actually don't plow through and drink a cake, in like 1 or 2 weeks even. This is a cake that they may have for 6 months. They may have it while they were in one house and like move to another house. And so you're actually adding to the story of that cake as it becomes a part of your life. And I just find that just really fascinating.
Yeah, that is quite I will use it. That is really, really interesting. Telling a story with tea. That's also what I'm talking about. Tea is experience. So when you think of you before you start your tea journey, maybe as a coffee drinker, and then you start your tea journey, you're diving into tea, you went to Yunnan, you made all these experiences. How did your personality change? Maybe there's no change, but maybe there's a huge change from the beginning to now.
So a lot of the change happened to me before I started the company. Basically, the focus that it took for me to move out of the high-tech industry and move into an entirely different industry was a really big mental shift for me. I always thought that I would be the like my dad's generation, like you got a job, you were loyal to the company, you worked there for 50 years, you got your pension, and then you left. And seeing how cutthroat like the tech industry was, I mean, I was for 20 years, like on one contract that was 6 months, and then like it would be let go, and I'd be hired by this company.
I know that.
Kept like that in combination with as much as I loved to learn, I want to be able to put into practice the things that I've learned. And in the tech industry, things move so fast that if you don't keep up on the latest technology, even within like 1 or 2 years, you're done. And some kid like 18 years old has been studying like whatever the latest technology is for 3 months, and then your company hires him and fires you because you don't know like that new thing that needs to be known. And I started to envy traditional craftsmen, like imagine like a watchmaker, right? The watchmaker starts off his career with a set of tools and a set of skills, and over the course of like 60 years becomes like a master watchmaker by continuing to build on the set of skills that they've made. And I I wanted to find an industry that would allow me to do that. And once I found tea, it really made sense. But I didn't know anything about the tea industry. And so you're talking about like experiences in change. I went into the tea industry in Yunnan with this idea of, I am going to, I've got this Western mindset, like we've got, everything has to be put into boxes, right? It has to be specifically categorized, like, okay, this mountain's tea tastes like this mountain's tea tastes like that. And so I went in there with like this like idea that I'm going to catalog and categorize and fully understand.
So you also had blue eyes, oh?
Yeah, exactly. I totally did. And then going over there and realizing that there is no absolute truth in Pu Erh Tea. And that was really awkward for me to realize that, because I would want to know like what is the core truth. And then I would go to one mountain and I could taste 5 different teas from that mountain that were entirely different than what I had been told that mountain is supposed to taste like. And realizing that has been a big challenge. I've had to step out of my comfort zone and just kind of go with it, still having the search, still wanting to search for quality teas based on my definition of what quality is, but then having to just be like, that let the tea speak for itself. It's still something that I have to learn. I'll never learn everything. I'll never be like the perfect master of all Pu Erh Tea, and that's
a long time journey, right?
Yeah. Well, there's no end to it. It's just you got to just keep doing it, and that's great. But yeah, that's something that I still work on.
Yeah, and also as my tea master also, she said, even she have all these contacts, growing up in Taiwan, went through China, is original from China. But even she said, it's a lifelong story and you cannot understand everything. And that is also, my mindset was also changing in China a lot. So before, very German. So what do you know about the Germans? The Germans are always very straight.
Sure.
And if something is wrong, then there's a problem. It's always a problem. Yeah, some stone in front of you. But the Chinese, I went there, they found a solution, and then they run away. And I thought, okay, let's find a solution. What happens? And then they run away somewhere doing that and doing that. But at the end of the day, the problem was solved. So that was quite amazing. And that helps me in my whole life a lot.
Interesting. That's a good experience.
That helps me a lot for my life to be more relaxed. Because at the end of the day, if it's done, it's done. How it's done.
Yeah, I've certainly probably the biggest struggle that we've had over there is with quality. Trying to because that's the one part where I don't want to compromise, and trying to find people over there that understand what I want in a quality product. They'll kind of sell anything. There's this idea of like, if you don't know what a good tea is, why should they sell you a good tea? And so they will sell you whatever tea they have to sell, even if it's not a good tea, because you're expected to know if it's a good tea or not. And I've had to let some things go. I used to get really, really, really stressed if like if the papers weren't wrapped perfectly, if the art that I had intended was off center on the cake and stuff. I've kind of had to let that go, because sometimes it's just not worth fighting on. But
that's also quite interesting, because my tea master also, she said always, though the seller can lie to you, can tell you it's the best tea, and of course, but the tea tells you the truth. It's not lying.
Absolutely.
So you dive into the tea, and then you find out for yourself if it's a good tea or not.
Yeah. Yeah. And that, like, the way I say it is like, the truth is always in the cup. Like the cup will not lie. It can't lie.
And of course, you and I, we are drinking our own teas, of course, because we know what's in. If I'm not drinking my own tea, then the people should not buy it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's one of the things, like, we get asked a lot. People want to know when we're going to start selling white teas. And there's a lot of amazing white teas from Yunnan.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't like them. Like, they're not bad. I can drink them. I can understand. I can recognize the quality product that was made. I was there with the farmers. I saw how they made the white tea. I know the trees. I just don't like drinking it. And for me, I can't sell something that I don't like drinking. And so I try to have this conversation with customers, and sometimes they get upset at me and they're like, why don't you just sell it anyways? I'm like, I can't. Like, I have tried hard to find a really amazing white tea that we could sell. But, you know, when you're working direct with the farmer, you pay for the leaf material. They can make it into whatever you want. They can make it into shengpur. They could make it into dianhong. They can make it into white tea. But you're paying the same price. And I'll just sit there and I'm like, for the white teas that I've had, even for the white teas that I thought were okay, I sat there the entire time just thinking, this would have been better if it was made as shengpur. You know, like they should have just, it's the same cost to us, you know? I'm sitting there like realizing that, like, if I bought this white tea that doesn't taste as good as the shengpur that was made from the same material, and the shengpur is going to be sold for more and has the potential to age for a really long time into something amazing, it's hard. I can't find myself selling white tea. Maybe we will someday. Maybe I'll find like that one amazing one, hopefully.
Maybe, but it's the same. That is the same on me. So I cannot sell teas I'm not drinking. Yeah. I cannot give experience I not experienced.
Yeah.
So
no, absolutely. You're just too honest.
Yeah. This sometimes it's not good, because the father of my kids he's also Chinese, and he said, "Oh, you better sell these very cheap teapots." And I said, "I'm sorry, I cannot. I will not use it. I would not use it. Why should I give it to my clients?"
Yeah. No, I'm exactly the same way. I just can't. I just don't feel good about it.
Everything what hurts me to send out, because it's going out, maybe a Dumpian oolong or my Badashan oolong. When it goes out, it hurts me because it says that is a tea I could drink, but then it's ready for my clients.
No, I hear you. I totally understand. And it's tough. It's hard. It's hard to make honest money in tea. That's the funny thing, is like I see so much shady stuff going on in the tea industry in Yunnan, and people make a lot of money, and I just can't do it.
Yeah. That's the value we have, and also for our customers. And even they're coming back. If the tea is not good, they're coming back to us. So why should we do that? And so for all of you outside, if you see us drinking a tea, then you can buy it. If we are avoiding it, then it's questionable.
Yeah, every tea that we sell on our site is something that I can and do drink. Most of the teas that I end up, it's funny because people make assumptions about what I do every day as a tea business person. I don't drink a lot of our teas every day, because what I'm doing is I'm trying to work on making the new blends, and easily like 9 out of 10 teas that I am drinking to analyze just aren't even worth considering. So I end up just drinking a bunch of teas I don't like. But
then I switch to a tea I like. So last question for today, that would be really, really interesting for me, because before we was talking about rituals, and this is a tea ritual. How much effect does, in your opinion, does the tea ritual have to the tea? Because we can also brew Western style, just put the leaves inside and to your personal, let's say, safety zone, mental health zone. What do you think?
So it's an interesting question, because you, in a lot of ways, I mean, I guess the best way to describe it is like you get out of it what you put into it. We have a wide range of customers. Some customers do very, very, very specific, intentional rituals with the tea, and then other customers, they just want something nice to drink. And so we try to we hope that our teas can work for everybody in that capacity. But yeah, it definitely is what you put into it. And a lot of these teas have so much to give. If you're not really, or they have so much to tell, if you're not focusing on the tea. And that's the whole point of Gong Fu, is like to put skill into something, to put attention into something. You can really miss out on what the teas have to tell, and in some cases that's a shame, because some of these teas have so much, and if you're not sitting there with the tea over multiple sessions, putting time and focus and effort into it, you may miss what the teas have to say.
But that also makes a lot of people afraid, because they say, okay, maybe I'm not good enough in making tea, and maybe I cannot get the whole story, or I don't need so much equipment. And then they are scared, because the tea is also very expensive, isn't it?
Yeah, certainly the teas can be expensive. And we chatted about this earlier. Like if you do the numbers, if you run the math, tea is actually ridiculously cheap. It's one of the cheapest luxuries that we can have, especially in comparison to like expensive foods that you eat once and it's gone, or expensive bottle of wine, when it's done, it's gone. You put that into perspective, and tea is actually an incredibly affordable luxury. But you're right, people do get stressed, and we also just try to encourage people to have the experience that they're going to have with the tea. And I really don't want people to get stressed, because at the end of the day, it's just leaves and hot water at the end of the day. And you can have whatever experience that you want with it. If you really want to push it as a meditational ritual, you can. But if you don't have time, and you want something that tastes nice, and you've got like a nice big to-go mug, toss a couple leaves in, add some hot water. And if it's a quality tea, it's going to have a really good experience for you, even just that way. Even just with like one gram of tea in a mug of water, and you drink it while you're dropping your kids off at school, which is what I do a lot now. It can still be a good experience.
So don't be afraid of good tea, because at the end of the day, the tea isn't expensive. It's as the cheap luxury. I take this with me. That is really good, because it is what it is, because multiple infusions, sitting a whole day with the tea, listening to a story of the tea with your whole body experience. And so hypersensitive people like I'm struggling with shampoo. When would you suggest, because we're drinking show, because here it's evening, it's nearly, now it's 9 p.m. So for me, this is in the evening is okay. I'm not running marathon or whatever, but is there a time to drink tea? Which kind of tea?
It does really come down to individual biology. Some people can drink tea really late into the night and not have any problems with it. I used to be that way. I think I'm probably gotten a little bit more sensitive to caffeine. I still like a strong shung session in the evening between like 9 and 10. Sometimes I'll set up like a little live stream camera, and we'll call it like Midnight Tea Club. I usually find myself still wide awake at like 3 or 4 in the morning, so it's not something that I do I do all the time. But I usually like to drink tea after I've after I've eaten in the day. It's not super rough on my stomach personally, but the way I like to drink the tea certainly can be, because I want it to be as like strong and super concentrated and potent as possible. And we generally recommend like 1 gram for 15 ml of volume, but once I know the tea, like I'll change that. I'll put a lot more leaf material into there. But when you mentioned like people not understanding Sheng Pu Erh, if there's any possibility to have somebody else brew it for you who actually does understand that. I did not understand Sheng Pu Erh tea until I had somebody else make it for me. It made all the difference. It
was the same on me. That's the same. Someone made it for me, and then I was into it.
Yeah. That's the way it was for Sheng for me. And it now I absolutely crave young Sheng, especially since most of what we drink when we're in China and we're going from mountain to mountain to mountain is Sheng Pu Erh tea that has been picked and processed like that day or the day before. It's about as fresh as you can get. And there is something about that tea that disappears inside of the first week. There is something really magic about like freshly made Sheng Pu Erh that is just, it's absolutely vibrant. It really kind of feels like you're drinking the tea while it's still on the tree. And it is, we've maybe the material that we got from Naka this year still feels that way, even though now it's been like aged 6 months. But there is something incredibly dynamic about really, really, really freshly processed Sheng Pu Erh that is absolutely impossible to take that experience out of Yunnan. And that's kind of like the high that I chase when we're there, like trying to be there like as the material is being picked and processed so I can have it right away, because it's really like nothing else. I just I crave super young Sheng deeply now.
So when it comes come back to the time, so I think it's a really, really understanding the body, right? Because not every tea is for everyone, and Pu Erh teas are really, really special. In my experience, the Sheng Pu Erh really is hard to get, also for new beginners, mostly. The Sheng Pu Erhs dive in Shou Pu Erh, they usually don't like when it comes to the taste, but they love it from the body feeling. And maybe that's also something the customers, when you buy a Shou Pu Erh and you don't like it, but then you just step back, drink it again, give it a new chance, maybe change the water, and then just sit with yourself and listen to your body.
Yeah, absolutely. There's and we chatted about this before. There's something, how the tea makes you feel doesn't change through the age of the tea. Like the flavor and the aroma will change. The body will remain about the same, and the emotional characteristic attached to it will generally stay the same through the life of the tea. And that's something important, and that's something hard to it's kind of something hard for people who aren't used to that, to get them to quiet the analytical mind. I think maybe that's like a Western idea. Like I've always wanted to, I overthink things, and I'm thinking about aroma and flavor and taste and things like that, to kind of shut that off and just listen to how it makes me feel. And that's it's an important thing for people to do if they can.
Especially when tea. Yeah, that was a really nice chat. Thank you so much for your time.
So much fun. Of course.
I learned a lot. That's why I love it to make these interviews with you guys, because I'm also learning from it. I'm also experienced from it, because I'm not so deep into Pu Erh teas, even if my journey starts 20 years ago. But
yeah, no, it's Pu Erh tea is can be stressful. I mean, people look at it and they've read what other people have said and written about it, and then if they don't have that exact same experience with it, they they think that they're doing something wrong. And it's very easy to go back to teas that they may be comfortable with. But Pu Erh tea has it's endless amount of complexity and tea tasting opportunity. It's really fascinating. It's basically all I drink.
So when the people now like to find your teas, where can they find your teas?
CrimsonLotusTea.com, and then we're on Instagram. She'll toss a little link down there or something.
Yeah, put it in the description box.
We're relatively active on social media, so I'm usually posting something every day or every other day. I'm trying to do more of the reels stuff on Instagram. Instagram wants reels on everything, and this is where I do it. This is my tea tasting table. This is where I always do everything. So if anybody ever sees any of our photos, it's always right here. This is where I am. I'm not hard to get a hold of. I reply to messages and active on the internet.
So everything about on this side about him and Crimson Lotus you will find in the description box. And is there something the people have to know about Pu Erh Tea?
Something that people just don't be afraid of it. And if you don't like it, that's okay. I mean, just because other people like it, don't feel stressed to be with the crowd, but also experiment with it. Like try different mountains, order some samples, try brewing it differently. Like you can experiment with it and find a way. If you find a way that you like it, you're doing it right. People ask us all the time, like, am I brewing it right? And I'm like, well, do you like it? And if they say no, well, then try, experiment, but start from a very specific base, right? I mean, you have to, that's the amazing thing about Gong Fu is like, you can build a very core set of methods that then you can slowly tweak, right? Yeah, keep the steep time the same, but like drop the temperature 5 degrees or bring it up 5 degrees or steep it for 5 seconds longer and find where you're, or change the water, try different water, use filtered water or unfiltered water, or craft your own water and stuff, and just experiment and find where you like it. And then when you find where you like it, then you're good.
That's a perfect end. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much.
Schön, dass du zugeschaut hast. Vielen Dank. Wenn dir das Video gefallen hat, wenn du hier was mitgenommen hast, dann vergiss nicht den Daumen nach oben und natürlich auch den Kanal zu abonnieren. Und wir sehen uns das nächste Mal wieder hier beim Geheimnis des Tees. Bis dahin. Bye, bye.